This year, Fielding Graduate University will celebrate its 50th anniversary as the oldest distributed graduate university in the United States. Our enduring values come from our founders and the early faculty who believed that graduate education was a vehicle for positive social action. 50 years is a major milestone, which we decided to mark with a film that speaks to the incredible diversity of our community. What we wanted to do is let our students speak about what it means to be part of the Fielding experience, an experience that has transformed so many lives over the past half-century. The result is a wonderful mosaic of voices who speak from the heart about what it means to aspire to a graduate degree and what it takes to get there. I hope you will enjoy this film and join us in celebrating this important milestone in our ongoing commitment to changing the world through lifelong learning.
I had several graduate degrees before, ones I'd gotten in my 20s, and then I got one in my 30s. So I just felt like I needed a mental or cerebral, pickup.
I wanted to get a PhD because I wanted to help people that look like me. I think the work that I've done at the master's level is really important, but there's so much more that I can provide to the African American community with a PhD and provide resources that we really need.
Well, it started out with my undergraduate and master's degree in clinical psychology. And when I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, I had just finished my master's degree from Eastern Illinois. And what I realized quickly there was that there was no master's level licensure at the time in Nevada. They did not recognize the LPC licensure at the time.
And so really having that discussion with yourself to figure out, why do I need an advanced degree? And for me, it was because I wanted to do things that weren't just clinical. I wanted to teach, I wanted to supervise at a graduate level, and I couldn't do that as a master's clinician.
When I finished up my clinical psychology training in Australia, I decided to take a gap year in New York City, and that was about 7 years ago. So I ended up loving it and falling in love with the city and decided to continue my career in clinical psychology here in the US.
Well, for me, I thought it was perfect timing because I was at a point in my career where I think was a little bit more mature, had gained a whole lot of knowledge, actually on the job, working in various capacities professionally. And so when I enrolled in the program, it was very seamless.
And my wife at the time, my wife says to me, why would you get another master's degree? You have a master's degree, you gotta get your PhD and finish that PhD in clinical psychology. And that made a whole lot of sense to me.
And was feeling a little nostalgic one day, and I'm sort of flipping around the internet, which we had by then. And I saw an article about Shaquille O'Neal getting his doctorate. He got a doctorate. He's a busy guy. I ought to be able to do this.
I looked around and was very surprised because I lived in Santa Barbara, California, and found Fielding, had not heard of Fielding before, and was very pleasantly surprised that Fielding seemed to be exactly the place I needed to go.
I first heard about Fielding actually when a family friend reached out to me because he learned that I was applying to graduate schools, and he was like, you have to check out Fielding. And his big argument was the culture of Fielding was something that would really attract me, because he felt that, a lot of times the sort of ivory tower perspective that a lot of more traditional programs can sometimes facilitate wasn't so much here, and we're a lot more grounded.
And then also one of the things that piqued my interest was the social justice and diversity concentration, and the representation of African-American faculty, which as African-American male, that was a factor that really contributed to my passion for wanting to pursue.
So I wanted a school that was not just about academia, but about making the world a better place. The quality of the professors and the students that I met when I was first, exploring. And then I talked to Fielding graduates, people that I really respect and have created a career around their PhD. So those markers really said, this is the school for me.
So I came to the post-bac program and I saw just how true that was, how down to earth the faculty were, and how much they encourage us to grow not only as academics and scholars, but as people.
And I had a bad experience with graduate school when I was younger and didn't like it very much, found it to be not very useful. And the more that I was around people from Fielding, the more I realized that they were serious about not just the academics, but also the practitioner part of what they could provide, and so it resonated more for me.
A colleague of mine brought up Fielding, and I had not heard of Fielding before, ever, and they were saying, no, this might be the perfect fit for you. There's a lot of flexibility, it's APA accredited, and that's when I looked into it, and it was a great fit at the time, and turned out to be a wonderful opportunity for me.
When you are in the Netherlands and you find someone in the academy that wants to be your chair, essentially doing a PhD can be free of charge. So I had been talking with several professors and had some good resonance here and there, until a coach that guided me in my development as a leader pointed me to Fielding, because one of his friends taught there, and he knew I was pursuing a PhD, so he thought, why don't you check out Fielding? So I was a bit skeptical, because I knew that doing a PhD in the US would take at least 100 grand or so. But nevertheless, I always follow up tips. So I checked out the website and I check out who's teaching there. And there's Frank Barrett staring me in the face, whose work I'd been working with for 3 years at that point.
I went back east to Harvard to get my doctoral degree, but it was at that time where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to get my research in. And there was rigor. It was challenging. It was not your traditional way of what you see in the educational system here. So when I went there, I was challenged, but at the same time, it taught me a lot of what would require me to be a critical thinker. So I didn't complete it, but when I came to Fielding, when I was given the opportunity to do my doctorate here on Navajo Nation, I was really happy that I could do it back home.
I just put one foot in front of the other, and I only was on a need-to-know basis, and if I didn't need to know about it, then I waited to find out about it. And that really is how I got through it.
One of the benefits of going to school when you're an adult is that you've learned a lot of things. You have a lot of self-learning that's happened that you can tie things to, and experiences that help you make sense out of theory.
Sheer tenacity, ambition, fortunately intelligence. You can see I'm a non-traditional, later in life student. The brain still worked, so that helped. And because I was doing something about my passion, that meant it wasn't work, really. It was just a journey.
As far as managing your family, it's a sacrifice for your family in some ways, but I've found ways to do it. And some of them are, I think I would have had to have done anyway, which is learn how to find time when it's quiet to learn, and then make the most out of those times and be disciplined about it. So I think even without a family, I would have had to figure that out in some ways, just to be able to do it.
It was definitely difficult. I have a parent that has cancer, and so it was a space of, through the pandemic, he had 4 surgeries, so there was a lot of transition that occurred in that time frame. And so it's difficult, but I think it's also, remembering why I came here and the long-term benefits of having a degree.
It was being able to connect with my partner and being saying, hey, I know we used to spend after work, we spent some time together. We're gonna have to allocate some days for ourselves. Other days it's just studying, reading, writing, and being able to do the group projects and attend classes. And then with my family, I used to visit every 2 weeks. Now I'm okay, well, let's limit it down to once a month.
I wouldn't say it wasn't too difficult because there's the family support system. And a lot of us, on the reservation, we don't grow up alone. We grow up in our family, our extended family. So we have a great support system that could help us achieve our dreams.
Well, you know, I would absolutely admit there was a bit of craziness in it, right? And I'll never forget, we were in the midst of I was in the midst of writing my concept paper. And my husband arranged my quote-unquote new office, temporary office, in the kitchen. And I came back and I discovered everything was in a different place, and I melted, because I will never forget the words that I heard from one of the faculty: no data, no dissertation, no doctorate. And I just melted. But that was probably the lowest point. The other high points were, I think it was good for the kids to see me go back to school. My love of school. I think that the nice thing about Fielding is the flexibility in terms of the timing and setting your schedule. And I was pretty disciplined in terms of how many courses I wanted to do every semester.
I think maybe the most unexpected surprise was the sense of belonging that I feel here, because I don't know that I've ever had that to the extent that I have it here. This sense of sort of really loving my classmates and really loving the faculty and feeling supported and encouraged in everything. I think I didn't anticipate just how powerful that would be.
The biggest thing that surprised me, and it's also so evident when we're at session and when we're at PDS meetings, is just how close you become to your faculty members and your peers, even though you don't see them day to day, and how, you know, you don't have run-ins in the hall with professors, but it's almost like the way that the school is set up is that these happen virtually, and you do have so many times where you have conversations with a professor, and yes, it might be virtual, but when I'm on my break at work, I'm able to call a professor and have a quick conversation. You're so supported and you are so in touch with everyone, despite the fact that we're all over the country.
I'm finding through sessions and even through Zoom that I am making deep relationships, meaningful relationships, not only through common research interests and through my psychodynamic orientation that I have in common with my cohort, but just friendships.
But I think probably the biggest difference is that it really changed how I thought. It changed how I approached problems. It changed how I thought about the world, the way I looked for solutions. It probably made me more patient with my children. But you know, it really shifted. It was an entirely new lens at how to look at the world, and a much more effective one.
The surprises for me were not so much the logistics, but was the learning process for me, and how I was challenged and how I grew as a professional, but also as an individual. And I think that's where the twists and turns resided for me along my Fielding journey. And as you know, I think everybody understands this, that authentic growth really requires us to take on new challenges, to develop new skills to be successful.
I'm more present in the experience, and I believe that it will make me a better practitioner. I believe that will be passed on to my clients.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the interaction with your individual professors. I love the fact that you have the opportunity, I should say, to mold the program to your specific topic and what you want to learn, so that even when you're going through the core curriculum, every single class that you go through, you can choose to study or choose as a case study your own topic. So you really get a nice depth and breadth of knowledge while you're there. And the community is unlike anything I've ever experienced. So I actually wouldn't change anything.
What the Fielding program did for me is really provide practical application case studies and a structure by which you could go about critically analyzing the challenge and understanding the factors that lead to success.
So my goal is to create a framework based on the work that I do with my dissertation. This is just the beginning for me with this work. And so my plan is to then take the research or the data that I find from my research and really let it influence my clinical experience with working with individuals with body image issues that have, disordered eating or eating disorders, to just lay a foundation, because I think that there isn't a lot of research around Black women and body image and eating disorders at all.
And I did write a book. It's called Developing Employees Who Love to Learn. The year that it was published, it was billed as one of the top 15 business books of the year. It won there was an electronic series and it won an award for that. Training Magazine featured it as one of the top books for training.
So my PhD led me to the discovery that these organizations that I thought were going to take care of the problem weren't. So I created my own foundation, which is a tax-exempt 501c3 in the state of California. And it's called Stop the Cut Now, Eradicating Female Genital Mutilation. And when I talk with people and they hear that I have my PhD and I did my dissertation on it, it brings a lot of gravitas into the conversations.
In particular, my clinical interests and my clinical passions and research interests are primarily centered around African American males. So a lot of my research interests, and especially my dissertation, I'm hoping that the results that come out of my dissertation can provide a space where the experiences of Black males that are typically unheard can be heard. This can provide a space for them to be able to share their stories, and then with the sharing of those stories, be able to provide insight into the lived experience of how practitioners can work with individuals that have been exposed to community violence and help kind of treat symptoms of trauma or any type of mental health consequences from being exposed to community violence.
Absolutely. The impact from my professional career, it turbocharged what I was doing in a lot of ways. Before, I was comfortable and confident doing my work, but I also knew that there was entire universes of things that I only knew a little bit about. After a doctoral program, there are lots of things that I know I don't know, but I also kind of know the terrain at least.
I think one of the things that I would suggest to someone just starting out on this scholarly journey, other than have an open mind and pay attention and seek out and follow your intuitions, and it's good to have a plan. Everybody starts here with a plan. You know basically what the requirements are, but then be open to what happens.
Just do it. It's a journey. Lean into your curiosity, lean into your dream. Be very clear why you want to do it, because it will be challenging. It will grow you, and it's a process of becoming. It's a process of finding out where you want to get deeper in your study.
So I definitely would encourage them to try to think through some of their interests, maybe put their interests down on paper just so they can maybe have a list of potential options. Because one of the benefits of fielding and having access to so many faculty all over the United States is that you have a wide range of faculty with experience. So you can touch base with different faculty, connect with them to see if your interests align with theirs, so you can get that mentorship.
I would say, if I could give any advice, it would be to come in with openness and curiosity. I think if you're gonna pursue a doctoral degree, you really don't want to be too set. As much as I've come in with my own interests that have remained, I've also, like I said, kind of grown in those interests. So if you keep an open mind, you're just gonna give yourself so much more room to grow and succeed. And it's going to be a lot less daunting of a time, because then whenever you're assigned something or you're with a professor who has a different area of interest, it won't feel like a waste of your time or like daunting, but it'll be like a new opportunity to learn and expand even more your knowledge of the whole field. So having that curiosity and that open mind just really makes it a lot more fun, and I think it enables you to be a lot more successful in the long run.
And then also giving yourself grace. This is hard. Fielding is a different type of model, which means that you're doing this while you're home with your families at all hours of the night in different time zones. And so grace, understanding your why, and then just balance as much as you can balance those hard decisions that come with being an adult learner. And I think, you know, that's where that grace comes in. You know, it's being able to stay on top of it, but also know if you can't, that's okay too. You can still make it to the end.